Hey, everybody. It is season 5 of Touch Taste Thursday. Yes, we're back. Touch Taste Thursday is here. I'm so glad to have you guys on with me tonight. Oh my gosh, I'm super duper excited. I got my pastor on, Pastor Rowe. He's going to come on and we are going to have a great time. So let's go ahead, jump right on into it. I hope you guys have had a great day. A little bit later on. But this is going to be so exciting. I think you guys are going to really enjoy talking with Pastor Rowe. He is amazing. It's just going to be great.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on? Absolutely.
Nothing much but everything.
Absolutely. First, let me just say thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of the Gene Ellen experience and coming on Touch Taste Thursday. Oh, I think his connection may have dropped off. Oh, there we go.
Okay,
There we go.
there we go. Yeah, my connection was tripping, so I just let the Wi-Fi down, so we
Oh,
won't have no trouble tonight.
but thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of the Gene Ellen experience. This is gonna be great. I'm so excited, and it's been on my heart to reach out to you to ask you for months, and I just kept putting it off. And that one Sunday, I was like, nope, I need to ask him right now.
Come on.
Yes.
I'm glad to be on too. We're gonna have us a great dialogue
Absolutely.
tonight. I believe it's gonna be a good one. So
Absolutely.
I'm excited. Thank you for inviting me.
I could not think of anyone better to kick off season 5 with than my pastor. And we're going to get it. And you guys are going to absolutely love Pastor Rowe the way I love Pastor Rowe in the Love Alive community. And we're going to jump right on into it. So tell us, who is Ronaldo Hardy?
You know, Ronaldo Hardy, I recently came to the conclusion that I'm a serial life changer. You know, like my goal in life, I have a personal mission statement for my life, which is to change the world by building the people who will change the world. And so I just realized for me, anything I'm a part of, my aspiration is to bring growth to it, whether it's in the business community, but also mostly in the lives of individuals. So I'm a serial life changer. I'm a person who brings growth to all that I'm a part of. And I think that it's hard to put that in one particular lane. You know, a lot of people are like, you should just do one thing. I'm like, well, no, I'm involved in a lot of things and all of them make impact. So
I like that.
That's how I would describe myself.
I'm gonna have to get that on the show.
I'm a serial life changer.
You grew up as a PK. Your father's a pastor. Your mother was in a ministry. Let's talk about that because we have that connection, that whole PK connection.
Come on, that's the whole community that people don't understand. Like the thing about being a PK is you don't get to have a choice in the matter. So when you are a PK, you become one by default because your parents honor their call. And so for me, that happened at the age of 5. We were just living our lives, minding our business. My parents were entrepreneurs, doing well. And they actually got sent out by their pastor at the time to pastor a church in St. Francisville, Louisiana. So our family had to transition from Baton Rouge to St. Francisville. And I have been a PK since the age of 5. And you will understand when I say it's absolutely why I did not want anything to do with being anybody's pastor. Like, it was not my endeavor, even though I know many people were seeing that in my future. For me, I was like, y'all can have that over there. You know, I'm good over here being in business. But I don't regret the journey. I wouldn't trade it. I do believe that a lot of my foundation happened in the church. I'm sure you can say the same for yourself. A lot of my exposure to people and their challenges and the different types of people came in the church. And actually, my first leadership opportunity came in the church as well. I was 12 and had the opportunity to lead the worship ministry for our church. And that's where I cut my teeth in leadership, which if you think about it, I was a kid leading adults. So that were volunteers. And if that ain't a hard leadership assignment, I don't know what is, but that's how I got started. So I'll say this too, because I saw my daughter jumped on, and I know that we try to do well at balancing this part out, but being a PK immediately thrusts you into the spotlight of people, however large that light may
Right.
be. Some people see that in a mega context, some a little bit minor, but whatever the case may be, it thrusts you into a certain amount of the spotlight where everybody's watching everything you do. And so I've had to become accustomed to that throughout a lifetime, that my life
Yes.
basically is not fully my own. It is literally made available to a lot of people. So it's been a high
So let me
pressure
ask
life,
you this,
but I
since
wouldn't
you
trade it.
went a little bit more in depth about being a PK, how growing up were you not like, this is my daddy church, I can do what I want? Like, how did you kind of keep that tight, like you just kept it inside, or you was like, oh nope, this is my daddy church, you're not gonna talk to me? Like, how did you handle that?
You know, my parents are they were very strict, number one, and they demanded a certain amount of respect from us as it relates to adults at all time. And that helped to kind of keep our mind level-headed about where we were. So it didn't mean that I didn't recognize that, we sat in that seat as a family per se. But at the same time, I think that they kept us grounded because they kept us with a certain sense of understanding of the responsibility of the role. My parents worked aggressively, I would say, on our gifts in particular. So for us, we didn't necessarily get to look at church as, oh, this
Yeah.
is our little family kingdom, if you will. It was never that. It was like, what are you rendering in the kingdom? And so we were pushed very hard. And that's why I think we seem so old in the
Right,
spirit now,
right.
per se. Like people are coming, they be like, but you young, but what's underneath this seems a lot older because we actually advance in our spiritual gifts very early in every way. Like my parents, when I tell you, Rebecca, they were like serious about it. We would have Bible studies in our home as a family, and we would share the responsibility of who would teach. So, I was a kid
Yes.
being mandated to teach the word of God in my household. And if we did not like come back with proper revelation, they would challenge us on it. So that call to preach was cultivated young, things of that nature. So I don't think I got to feel like, oh, like we the stuff, For me, it was like, you
Right.
better
And
bring
how
your
do you
A
and Pastor
game,
Christian, Pastor Christian,
Yes.
your wonderful wife, who I love so much, and she's the co-pastor of
Yes,
Love
she
Alive
is.
Church. How do you all keep your kids grounded? Because I love your kids. Your kids are kids. They aren't they don't have that, this is my daddy church, this is my mama church. They don't have that sense of attitude
Yes.
about this is ours. They are very just
Yes.
like, they just go with the flow, and I love that about them. How do you keep them grounded but also having the mindset of, at some point you may have to step into your call of ministry?
So for us, it's so interesting. I feel like my wife and I were talking to somebody recently. They were having a conversation with us, and we said like our style of parenting them is very much so like the Cosby Show. So like if you came into our household, we have some of the most unconventional parental approaches, but it really works for us. One of the things that we're making sure that they get an excellent foundation, so we don't really allow them to get certain thought processes. We don't lift ourselves up on a pedestal. So, our approach, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more, like to
Right.
pastoring is super different. Like we don't have what I call presidential pastor syndrome, where we walk in all arise. And so we don't so we don't really transfer that thought process on our children. And even if we see any elements or traces of that, we're quick to correct it, to make sure they understand why we do this, what it means, why it matters, what impact are we making. And so they really have a proper perspective on what ministry means. I think that we've also done a good job at not making church our lives, but making church lively. Right. So church is so lively that
Right.
they love it. I mean, we love a live church. You come into our environment. I mean, I was looking Sunday, and you
Correct.
basically had to swim the church, and people
Me
were in
included.
that building. Like, there's a culture of I want to be here, because something about this atmosphere is so unique, and it has transferred over to them. So, like my oldest, a lot of times they want to come in the first service and sit in because they love to experience that. We aren't forcing that onto them. Also, you know, we're helping to cultivate their gifts. So I'm in that whole passing the baton right now. You saw my kids release their single with mine, which I'm like, they killed it. Like, I'm gonna be getting out the way soon for them because they're coming. But I love what's happened in their mindset. So we recently found out, you know, we're doing the expand offering at the church, and our son Josiah decided that he was going to give 250 to that campaign, which we didn't tell him to do. We were just looking and we said, wait, because we used Greenlight with them so we could see how they spend their money. And we saw that he had given the church $25. And we like, hey, sir, like, you gave the church $25. And he said, yeah, I'm doing it every week so that I can give my 250 to the expand offering. So we've really helped them to see the power of impact. And I think that that's kept them grounded. And we have a life, like a family life outside of church. And we're invested into the things that matter to them. So they never really have to resent
I love
church.
that. I love that. That is awesome. Let's take a pause. Welcome everyone to Touch Taste Thursday. I am Rebecca with a K. This is the Jean Ellen Collection. That is my business, my brand. This whole Touch Taste Thursday thing started out in 2020. I was a product tester, product reviewer, and somewhere along the way, the Lord saw fit to expand me a bit so that I can interview people and get to know them and share their stories and let you get to know their stories authentically without the blogs, the press, whatever it is that you may have heard about them. And so here we are, season 5, and we have our product sponsors for tonight. Potpourri. This one is Poopery. This one is Car Poopery, Pet Odor Poopery, and we have Home Poopery. So thank you to our product sponsors for tonight, the Poopery family. We appreciate you sending that over. If you have any product services, you are a brand owner and you would like to have your products and services featured here on Touch Taste Thursday, please send me a message in my DM, or you can go to my website and drop the information there. Our guest for season 5, episode 1 is my pastor, Pastor Ronaldo Hardy of the Love Alive Church. And we're going to jump right back into the conversation because I want to use up all this time because he always has a good word. So let's talk about that. And so, you and Pastor Christian started out deciding that, okay, God, you're leading us into ministry, but we have something else we want to do, and out comes to Love Alive. How was that whole process and those conversations?
Oh my God. So first of all, prior to planting Love Alive Church, we put our own plans in place. And our plans in place had nothing to do with pastoring. Like, we decided we ain't pastoring nobody. As a matter of fact, we're not staying in Louisiana. You know, many people, and I'm sure we'll explore this at some point tonight. I have a thriving career in financial services. So at the time, I was CEO of a credit union. I've gone on to lead 2. And what we decided was we were going to build this aggressive career, and, you know, we would be willing to move. And by the age of 40, I would be running a credit union that would be $1 billion or above. I was targeting 7-figure a year income, things of that nature. And if you go to our church, you know, I've been offered 2 7-figure roles that I turned down because of what the Lord told me to do with Love Alive. And so we didn't want a pastor. We were like, God, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to lean into this career thing, make this money. Let's make the money bigger. And we're going to find a big church somewhere. And they won't know that we can preach. They won't know that she could pray. They don't know we prophesy. They don't know I sing. They ain't going to know nothing about the gifts. We're going to sit our tails down. And with the resource God has given us, because churches need resource, that's a conversation for another day. All right. I mean, you might go into it because people be thinking that church supposed to operate with no resource. Like, it don't work like that. And so we were like, you know, we'll be really generous givers. Like, we'll find out aspects of the vision that need to be funded, and we'll do that. And the Lord was like, you're going to stay in Louisiana and you're going to plant a church. And we like, no, because remember, we said no to that. And he really just aggressively placed a vision in our heart. And we knew that there would be a church that we would start that would be multifaceted. One, the Lord told us that there was an urgency for us to start because generationally, it was necessary for us to be able to pull our generation back to church. That was one thing the Lord told us. But then he also let us know that our ministry would still be multi-generational. So we would reach older, younger, and our age, that it would be multi-ethnic as well. And so we were like, okay, God. And he showed us this church of like, it was contemporary in nature, but radical worship. And, it's a blend of, I feel like we are a blend of elements. Like we are a blend of very, like if you come into our atmosphere, it's designed to look a little more contemporary and youthful in nature. But what's underneath it is old school power and anointing, right? And so it's a bridging together of the two. And so when the Lord told us to start the church, he began to give us the vision for it, began to give us the steps. We start navigating the journey towards helping it to become all that it could be. We literally gave every single dime that we had to start this church. We invested our very all in it. And I will tell you, she and I would do it all over again because God has allowed us to have such tremendous impact so far beyond what we could have seen at the time. The church that we step into every week is every bit of what the Lord showed us. And recently, he showed us a little bit more about where he's taken us. And so we're excited about that. But I love Love Alive. As a matter of fact, I will tell you, when the Lord first gave me that name, I was at my dad's church. And so his church name is Faith, Hope, and Love. And sometimes people will have trouble remembering that, right? So, when the Lord first started saying Love Alive, I'm into marketing and branding. And so I'm like, well, maybe the church needs to rebrand. Like maybe the name of Faith, Hope, and Love, I'm not thinking I'm starting a church. But then the Lord expanded that. And I'm very happy to lead Love Alive Church. What a beautiful community.
And I'm not biased because I'm a member there, but it is great. I love it. It is awesome. Let's talk about branding a bit more. I guess maybe the last 3 or 4 years or so, especially with COVID happening, you had a lot of churches having to shift how they were able to present worship. And when I say present worship, I mean as far as media-wise. We couldn't be in the building. We couldn't be together. And so a lot of churches had to step up their game when it came to how the word was being delivered. And from there, it's a lot of videos and a lot of reels and stuff like that. And so what do you think churches now are packaging to where it almost looks, I don't say rock concert, but it's like, whoa, what are they doing over there? Like it's attention grabbing.
Yeah. Yes, it's so interesting because I think it's such a taboo topic too, right? Because some people are like, well, the church, they're doing too much and they're trying to make appeal. And then there are those that recognize that this new approach to how things are packaged helps to reach audiences who would not otherwise interact with the church, right? And so I tell people all the time, the message doesn't change, but the methods do. We have to understand. I think about if Jesus was around with social media, oh my God, what could he have done with a platform? Could you imagine Paul with Facebook, and what he could have done with Instagram and how he could have pushed a message further? And so it's utilizing these tools and resources that are around responsibly, right, to present the message even better and stronger. For us, it's very interesting because even before the pandemic happened, one of the cornerstones of our church from the beginning was creativity. So I actually prayed and I said, God, make this a creative community. So I'm naturally a creative. I'm like, make this a creative community. And this is what I said, Rebecca. I said that creativity starts where resource stops. And my thought process was, whenever resource ran out, especially in them early days where we didn't have all the finances we have now, I needed creativity to get us beyond our resource. And God honored that prayer. When I look in our body, there are so many creative people who are there. What I believe the pandemic did is those who were already in that space of understanding the necessity of creativity, they were able to amplify their message a lot faster. What it also did, though, for those who were not in that space, it put an urgency there so that they were not ignorant of or ignoring the need to transition into these spaces. But a lot of ministries began to go with the evolution that was necessary. I mean, in the pandemic, you just weren't going to survive if you didn't find a way to be online, die. You literally are asking your church to die. I do believe that there's a contingency of people that fight the contemporary presentation of church, but I believe that there's also a large group of people who are able to experience God because the presentation feels like something that may interest them first. And as they come into the room, then now they're impacted. They came for interest, right? But now they're impacted by what they experience. So, give an example of our church. You're going to come in, you're going to see them lights low. We have a little less of them now, but we have our tables out. For a little while, people was calling us sexy church. Because it's like you come in, it looks like a whole little jazz club set up almost, right? And so it interests you because the space feels different, but it was designed that way to bring a level of connection to God that eliminates the focus of other people. So by us dimming the lights, we created an atmosphere where people feel more comfortable expressing their connection to God. By us having the lighting structure we have, it gives people that atmosphere that they feel a certain level of intimacy, right? And then underneath that, though, are the power elements. I don't think that church should have to omit the presence of the Holy Spirit just to have the presence of people. Right? I think that you can actually do both. And so that's what I'll say to that. I think that it is an evolution and some people are fighting it. But I think the more people lean into this, we are seeing greater opportunities to reach demographics who would not otherwise be connected with. And our church, we have literally reached tons of agnostic people, atheist people, and you come in there and we are absolutely. A spirit-filled environment.
Absolutely.
But we're attractive.
So with that now, do you feel that made us lazy because we can watch it on YouTube or we can watch it through Instagram or whatever the media is? Has that made us lazy Christians?
I think for a contingency of people, yes. There are a lot of people who did not resume gathering, with the body. So they choose to just do it via virtual access. And I do believe that that's better than nothing, but I don't believe that it's a replacement for being connected with a local body. There is a necessity of being present where people are. And we like to say real life change happens in the context of relationships. So there are a lot of things that happen on Sunday, but they're reinforced Monday through Saturday through relationship that you're able to build as you connect with a body. And it has been our endeavor at all times to create an atmosphere at the church that you feel like, I gotta get there. I was having lunch with a guy today. I've been actually known him 12 years, but he and his wife have been coming to the church the last month, and they are actually going to become a part of the body. And, he said this, he said, me and my wife both said, we've been watching this online. And he said, you could watch videos on social media of Love Alive Church and you get a sense of something going on over there. He said, but it's nothing like walking in that room. That room, there's just something, I would probably get stoned by a lot of believers if I said something magical, right? They have to like, what you say, right? But you know what I mean? It's like something that is super unique happens in that atmosphere. And I would love if believers would overcome that desire to be lazy. Because a lot of times it's only church where we're lazy. We press our way through everything. It could be a monsoon, your boss expect you at work, you get in there. It could be a monsoon, you let there be a sale at your favorite store, and you're gonna find your way through all that to get there. But in the context of church, a lot of times we've been allowed to make excuses, and our goal has been to build an experience where people come out of desire and not duty, and they show up because of relationship, not religion. And I believe if you cultivate that, right, then people will show up no matter what.
Let's shift gears a bit. So let's talk about you rebranding, or not even rebranding, but you branding Ronaldo Hardy as the entrepreneur, the business tycoon in banking and finance and a recording artist. How do you have time to do all of that and pass the love of life?
Let me tell you something. I have been doing 85 million things for as long as I can remember. And I used to be like, okay, because there would be all these experts that would say, hey, you need to identify one lane and sit in that, and that's it. And I really would try to evaluate, like, okay, what could I give up so that I could do that? And I just never could give up anything because everything I am is such a significant part of me. Who I am in the business space and lane is a significant part of who I am. And not only is it significant, it pays me, and it pays me absolutely well. Okay. I be letting people know, listen, all that I have, understand this. I work and I do well. Amen. And so because of that, it's not like I can walk away from that. Neither do I desire to. My family likes the lifestyle. And I like it too. Amen. I like shoes. I like the shop. I like all that. I got a problem. There are shoes upstairs, downstairs, everywhere, up in here for me. Okay. And so that piece I couldn't give up. Well, then there's this other part of me. I am an artist. Like, I mean, the artistry was birthed out of just a core of purpose, which is in worship. But I've explored as an artist what I consider socially conscious music. So, you know, if you look at before I put out a single that I end up putting out with my children as well. I had not put out a worship single in a decade, really. And I had made a pivot because I wanted to explore within my artistry how I can make impact in other ways. So I did an EP that was focused on the Black male experience in America. And then I did an album that walked through my grief journey after losing my mom. So I didn't want to turn that part off. And then there's this pastor in me that I cannot turn off. And then there's a dad, which I take that role seriously, and a husband. All these parts are facets of who I am. And so two things helped me. One, when I developed a personal mission statement for my life. So my personal mission statement, again, is change the world by building the people who will change the world. And when I simplified that, if somebody asked me, what I've been saying for years is I'm a people builder. Now I'm a serial life changer because I'm realizing that's what I show up to do is bring life change. So it was that part of like, I can't really shut any of these things down. Recently, I finally decided to kind of get back up and work on my brand. After losing my mom in 2020, it disrupted everything that I was working on. I'm sure we're going to talk about that in a minute. And so I really got frustrated with IG because during that period, I could not stay consistent in the formula that I had built. So I really learned IG back then. I had my formula rolling. I knew what my content mix was, when I needed to post it. I was running an ad strategy. So I would run an ad that connected people back to my page. The content looked like that ad. So, I mean, I'm building this community. People follow me, engagement growing. I got a system. I'm about to teach the system, everything. I lose my mom and it disrupts all of my momentum on social. And if you know anything about IG, if you stop what you're doing, they literally pull 100% of your engagement away. So by the time I was ready to come back, I was frustrated because I'm like, I did all of this work and I felt like I was penalized because of my pain, right? And so, and then I'm like, not only am I penalized because of my pain, y'all about to affect my credibility. Like, because you got people out here in these streets buying followers and likes, and I don't understand what fake engagement gonna do for you. It must do something for somebody's self-esteem, but it ain't gonna do nothing for what you're growing. And so I'm like, y'all can't have me out here looking like this. And I didn't want to come back because of that change. And something in me shifted at the end of last year. I said, you know what? It ain't gonna fix itself. Like, you just got to get back out there. You'll regrow everything that you grew. You'll learn systems again. You'll reach new people. It's time to position yourself for what is next. And I stepped back and said, how am I going to step back into the space? Who do I want people to know me as? What does that look like? How do I speak one time and it's an announcement in every lane that I'm in? How do I do that? And that's what really helped me to hone in on. I'm a serial life changer. I help people and businesses grow. And one word is leading everything I do this year, and it's expand. I help things, people, businesses, situations to grow and expand. And that's my message this year. So it doesn't matter what lane I'm in, it's consistent. It still applies to every part of who I am. So I could do 18 things and still be the same single me.
Let's back up a little bit and talk
Mm-hmm.
about the loss of your mom. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like it happened in real time because you, like you said, you were very, very, very
Mm-hmm.
active on social media. You shared almost every step every day with everyone that followed you, as well as the
Yes.
church members, about what was going on. And so, with the loss of your mom from COVID, how had that shifted you in that moment? Was there a moment where you questioned God, like, why my mom, and like what was that whole
Oh, yeah.
process like in getting
Mm-hmm.
through grief?
A couple of things. So, number one, I experienced a pain that I was unfamiliar with. There is a pain in you that you won't know until you have lost at that level. And you can be close to it. You can be around somebody who's lost. There is a pain in you that you will not know until you experience loss at that level. And immediately, I remember everything about finding out my mom was gone. I was so disappointed and got angry with God about it because I felt like we created the greatest platform for you to shine. That's how it felt to me. So there was all these elements. It's like I'm looking at my mom. I'm like, she's a dynamic prophetess. She is just 56. Clearly, she has more to do, right? I look at, my family and what we were doing in belief and how we were strong enough to put our story out there. I'm like, the platform kept getting larger and larger. I would do a post about my mom. Yeah, over 1,000 people on it. I mean, it was a lot. There were people in other states that were praying. So for me, I'm like, God, you have a great platform to move. Our family experienced some challenges with us taking the journey to plant a church that damaged some of the relationship. My mom and I were like the best of friends forever, and it damaged some of that. And so we have had a 6-year journey that was difficult. The last of those 6 years, it was repairing itself. It had gotten better, but there were some elements of it that were not completely corrected. So I looked at all of that, and I'm like, surely it ain't time. And I did a video the other day about, does God have an algorithm, right? And this is where I feel God is so complex in his sovereignty. That's the part of him we will never understand, because in his sovereignty, he's making decisions that we don't always agree with. He's making decisions that we don't understand. And for me too, I was like, the night before she died, I literally stayed up and prayed all night long because we had gotten a negative report. And I almost choked up talking about it. We had gotten a negative report. And so for me, I was like, well, I'm going to do what I know to do.
Yeah.
God, it's going to be me and you all night. And I literally did not sleep. I prayed every moment of an entire night, and went to the hospital the next morning and prayed and worshiped. And I wasn't home an hour from being at the hospital, and I got the call my mom died. And so it made me frustrated with God. It made me question him. I snapped on him. I actually went off. I lost my entire mind on God one day. I let him have it. I let him know, like, I am not happy with what you did. I argue. I don't think we argue with each other because I think he just said that, like, okay, you finished, you through, and here was the weird dichotomy of that. There was something internal that knew that I had to move forward in purpose. So you will remember I preached for like 8 weeks straight after I lost my mom before I took any break. And it took me a while to navigate that situation with God, to get to a place where I never stopped loving him. I never stopped leading. I never stopped. You would have to know me to know that, like, I'm a no excuses person. So like I'm gonna show up and do what I'm supposed to do regardless. But I struggled a whole lot with God. There were times my wife would be like, well, you don't appear to be as close to God as you were. And I was like, You better go somewhere because I'm not trying to talk about that. But look, and I know people who have lost at this level will get in the comments and say this. When people were calling me or texting me their favorite scriptures, I was like, y'all need to hold on to that because I already know that scripture and I don't want to hear it right now. So you hold on to that. You know, your favorite scripture, you just digest that on your own. Or when they were calling and they wanted to pray, it's like, oh, bye. I don't want to do that right now because I'm mad with God. And I said this one day in church, but I was basically like, you can still be committed, right? Even when you don't, like, commitment goes beyond a feeling, right? I follow my focus, not my feelings. So I remained focused even though I wasn't feeling it. And even at times still, me and God still have to have critical conversations about it. I still don't have answers. I still can't figure it out. I still ask so many questions. You know, I'm choking up again. There's a level of responsibility because there's something in you that feels like maybe I could have done more. There was something different I could have done, knowing that really I couldn't. It was out of my control. But it caused an entire journey between God and I. I'm so glad that I am a vulnerable, transparent leader. And so I had a lot of leaders who did not think that I should grieve out loud. And I basically let them know, let me explain something to you. I said, look, now I'm a leader's leader, period, in every facet. I said, but I'm the people's pastor. And what I mean by that is my connection has always been to what's happening in the seats. And I think that one of the things that church has done wrong for so long is pastors have felt in order to sit in that seat, they have to project perfection. And that's the only way to maintain a level of authority in that role. And I just think that it's unnecessary. I think that the greatest opportunities in leadership is to show people how you navigate through real life, because real life doesn't turn off just because you accept
and
the
you
role.
talked about Love Alive Church being multi-generational, and our pastoral team is multi-generational, from Pastor Jetson all the way down.
Yes.
How do you see church moving into the future? You have a lot of multi-generational churches, but the generation is our generation and our kids. You know, our parents are still at their old traditional churches that they've been at, and they're not really into the like the new church, you know, where we have the words on the screen and we have the praise team. They still like the choir and the fire and brimstone. You know, they're very How do you feel moving into the future we'll be able to expand that and keep that going and still have the authenticity of the old school church, but adding the elements of the new?
Yeah. So I would say, one, I think that the new church, or the church that will thrive for a long time, will be constantly evolving. So I think that what you have to embrace is that if I'm going to remain relevant in a way, and people treat relevant as a bad word, but it's really not. Like, if I'm going to remain relevant in a way that allows me to have reach, then I have to accept that I will be constantly evolving. So I think that that's one thing. I think, two, one of the things that I've seen in church as a whole is that it's moving in this direction where it's bringing back a lot of charismatic elements in this contemporary presentation. So a lot of people miss the move to what is a contemporary presentation, right? And then there are some that they felt like, all I gotta do is give me some black paint and some lights and it's gonna take off. And it's like, but what's underneath that? What I have seen, and there was a time too that it was like, in order to grow church, you know, you had to get that 1 hour down pack. And let me tell you something, we got 65 minutes down pack when we were on Jones Creek doing, I say 1, 2, 3, 4 services, right? In and out, because we had to. But what I've seen is that there is a blend of the old and the new. And there is a desire to have contemporary presentation with old school power and authority. And you're seeing, you see it in our expression. It's like a move of God can happen, and people be like, "Don't give me 75-minute church." Like, I want 2 hours. Give me 3 hours. I mean, we've had some encounters that we look up and be like, how did we linger here as long as we did? But nobody felt that amount of time because there was an authentic move of God that happened to be in this presentation that felt contemporary. So I believe that generationally, there has to be communication and connection. And like, even for us, I mean, we still young, but we like moving into their middle phase of life.
Right. I gotta sit down after a while.
Which is like the beginning. I told my wife, I said, oh Lord, so we about to move to the middle phase of our lives, which means we at the beginning of our journey to elderhood, right? But part of that is also embracing that, okay, there will become a time that we have to go back and have conversation with the generation beneath us as well, so that we start collaborating with them in order to continue reaching. And I think that that's what's the church of the future is going to always be built on generational collaboration. And if generational collaboration is not happening, there will be an extinction of the church. It's gonna die. That's what I love about Pastor Jetson. That man is always evolving. He is always finding a way to become relevant amongst the next generation. I want to.
He's amazing. I love Pastor Jetson. Let's back up a tad. I wanted to talk about Opportunity Knocks, the reality series. You were the host.
Yes.
How did that happen?
I was the host.
Where did that just?
You know, I always say, a lot of times in my life, I just pinch myself because it's like things will show up out of nowhere. So I will definitely say when I was a kid, I did have aspirations to be on TV one day. You know, a lot of people have that. I think it's like, oh, TV, it could be cool. You know, people would tell me I would be good on TV, but at the end of the day, I'm like, well, I live in Louisiana, so, you know, I want it, but how is it going to happen? But this is where allowing God to order your steps really has a strong impact. So I have been in financial services over 20 years now. So this is year 21 for me in financial services, 8 of which I spent as president and CEO. So I ran 2 different credit unions, one for 5 years, another for 3 years. And both times I was a client of this particular firm that I am now one of 6 owners. So we are a consulting firm. We consult credit unions around the nation. We have a team of 35 employees. I think another 10 contractors. Yes. It's a thriving business. Yes, come on, somebody, that I am a part owner in. And so I joined that firm. It's like how God was ordering every step. I actually told the founder of the firm 2 years before I joined, I said, the next job that I have is going to be at your organization. Now, I was just saying I was going to go work there, but God had it set up that I was actually going to become an equal owner with the other 5 owners. There were 5, and they opened up a spot for me as the 6th, the only minority and the youngest. By, I think, the next youngest owner has a decade on me. So it was a few things that God did there for me. But in being a part of it, one of my business partners was at the genesis of Biz Kids, which ended up being a show that went national, started on PBS. It ended up being syndicated. And she had this idea to start this show, Opportunity Knocks. And she would always tell me at work, she'd be like, you're going to be the next Joel Osteen, and you're going to be it. I'm like, okay, you know. And so she came to me one day and she was like, so we're starting a show and you're going to be the host. And I'm like, okay, cool. You know, like, oh, you're going to have your little show. It's going to be, you know, PBS. It's cool. Like, I really was like, you know, I was excited, but it wasn't like over the top. And then it got to the point that she started working with the production company and they were like, no, wait, we are going to go through a process and we have to vet and we're going to look at multiple hosts. So then I had to be screened role as host. And that took it to an entirely different level for me because, you know, I felt more accomplished in getting it. And then the show grew. The likes of Jean Tatsky became one of the financial coaches on the show. She's been the financial editor of the Today Show for 25 years. And Patrice Washington, who has one of the most successful financial podcasts in the nation, and was the financial expert on the Steve Harvey show when he had his talk show. And Luis Barajas, who is a business manager to multiple Billboard artists. So I'm like, oh, right. And then the guy that became the producer, Brian Spohr, you know, he has produced on The Bachelor and Big Brother and 90 Day Fiance and Wahlberg and all these things. And I'm like, oh, wait. And then the next thing you know, I'm on set in June and I'm like, whoa, this is way larger than what I anticipated. It's one of those things that I feel like, you know, the scripture says, if you delight yourself in the Lord, he will give you the desires of your heart. And it is probably crazy for people to hear, but the role as host of a national TV show walked me down. It was not something I had to pursue. And from there, the Lord has opened up some opportunities. I have a coach now. I have an agent at one of the top agencies in the nation. They actually have offices in New York, LA, and London. It was the agency that I wanted to be represented by. The producer of the show is represented by them, and he did not walk me through the door. Like, it's crazy how the Lord worked that out. So from Louisiana, I used to hear somebody say this. They said, God can get anything to you at anywhere, at any time. And what it let me know is that God is not limited to an address. When he is ready to address you, he will come right where your address is and lift you up. And that's what he did. And I enjoyed every minute of being on Opportunity Knocks. Day one, I was terrified because episode one, like the opening episode, the beginning of that, and also the beginning of episode 12 were scripted. So in episode 12, in the latter portion, in episode 13, I was able to flow as a host off script. But the producer just joined. Hey, Brian. And so, and we're talking about the show right now. And so, you know, I had to actually be scripted on day one. And when I tell you, we didn't have a teleprompter, so I'm like, oh Lord, I'm scripted. I had these lines. Thank you, Brian. He said I did amazing. I'm like, I got these lines, and y'all, Brian was feeding me the lines. He would give me like 3 or 4 sentences, and I would have to remember them and regurgitate them. And he and his crew, and also the coaches who were on set with me, they were so encouraging to me to let me know that I was in the right place, because I felt like, oh Lord, I'm the only newbie in here, you know, except for the rest of the cast, but I was the newbie there, and so I really enjoyed every bit of the opportunity. It is, you know, opportunity knocked at my door, and I loved every moment.
Yes, I love what you did there. Opportunity knocked at your door. I love that.
Yeah. It knocked at my door. Come on, somebody.
If the opportunity presented itself, like, I don't know if you remember the series Preachers of LA, Preachers of Detroit. Would you do like a Preachers of Baton Rouge, or like a Young Preachers?
I absolutely would. I think that our family would definitely give a unique perspective to people. I definitely think that we are a TV family. You know, whether or not the Lord opens that door, I mean, you know, anybody who sees our family, we are quite a bunch, right? And very expressive, and we have a very unique dynamic. What I would love about the opportunity to do something of that nature is that I believe that we could do it responsibly, so we could be entertaining on TV without damaging how people view church. And one of the things that I believe we've been commissioned to do as a family, my wife and I, as a couple, is exactly the vision that we launched for Love Alive Connect, our network, to restore the hope of people in the integrity of the church. And I believe that by us living out our real life, being unafraid to address some of the most critical conversations, but also modeling a level of vulnerability, transparency, in integrity, it would allow people to feel different about church. And so we would absolutely do it. And who knows what the Lord has in store for us. We'll see.
Definitely. Let's talk about kids make money too with the kids. Let's talk about that.
Come on. Yes. So my kids came to me last January, and I'm excited, by the way. Their trademark is in its final stage. So they are getting their trademark for their brand. But they came to me last January. We were all sick with COVID at the time in our house. And so they were because we were all sick with COVID, the good thing was we were able to all just be around. Like nobody had to be, nobody had to be in quarantine. It's like y'all all are sick. And so, you know, my kids, they are very bright, and they were meeting with each other about an idea that they had for a business that involved finance. You know, they kind of wanted to start this investment and loan fund and this nonprofit and all these things. And we were talking. And so I'm here at that, and I'm like, okay, this is an arduous task, but at the core of what they were communicating was this desire to help kids learn about money. And I was like, actually, kids teaching kids about money is brilliant. I think that I would absolutely get 100% behind that. And so I told them, they came and presented their proposal to me, and I gave them some homework to go back and work on. And they actually came back with the name Kids Make Money Too. And when I heard that, I was like, this is absolutely brilliant. I am going to get behind it 100%. And I helped them to thrust it. I actually helped them to manage the genesis of it. And they're working on a few things. So they're working on the Kids Make Money 2 album. We will also have a video series and a book series that will be coming out. So their product line will launch at some point in this year underneath it. But then at some point last year, my wife and I saw the opportunity to even strengthen their business acumen and that prowess that will keep them working on the things that they say they desire to do. So we actually handed them the full responsibility of the social media, which was kind of scary because it was like, you know, which is why if you go to the account, it says it's a kid managed page. Everything you see, 100% of it, they do. They meet with one another. They come up with their ideas. They research their financial facts. They come up with video ideas. And I love it because it's training their creativity. It's training their commitment so that they don't walk away from something that they felt like they really desired to do, but they keep going and working on it. And I cannot wait to see what it turns into. I told him, I said, your dad believed enough in you to trademark it. And so Kids Make Money Too is a trademark that they will own. And I believe that it is definitely going to be a 7, 8, potentially 9-figure business as it grows over time.
Awesome.
They're going to get it there. And I'm excited about where it's going.
I'm always adding. I got like 6 jobs. I can do one more. I mean, 7 jobs.
You know, I'm sure they will be, because if that thing keeps growing, you know, and the vision that they have for it is so much beyond. I cannot wait until people can see the product they built around it and what that's going to look like. I'm very proud of them, and it's exciting to watch their entrepreneurial journey as children. I told my wife I really believe that we're helping them to gain some life skills that are going to make them some pretty amazing adults. So I can't wait to see it. They already have amazing vocabulary. Somebody was interviewing them the other day. We had to do a family interview on Friday, and the lady was like, the vocabulary on these kids. And I'm like, that was intentional. My wife and I decided when they were babies that we were not going to communicate with them in a lot of baby talk. And, you know, we replaced words like car and truck with vehicle, automobile. You know, word replacement actually advanced their vernacular. And so they really can talk in a certain way. And we love it. It's all intentional. We don't know if we're doing it right, but it looks like we're doing all right. That's what I'm going to say.
That's all that matters.
There you go.
Before we run out of time, let's talk about what's next for Ronaldo Hardy. What's next for Love Alive Church? Like, let's talk about expand and the Love Alive connection.
Yes. So Love Alive Connect is the next big thing for our church. And so, you know, we launched a network that sits on top of everything that we're building. And we have 6 different streams that we built underneath it. So we have our campuses, we have our network fam that we're growing with, conferences that we intend to do, a college that's launching in the fall, and a nonprofit that we're starting as well, as also Love Alive Entertainment. So we looked out and we saw a vision that we can grow into even over the next 50 years. We won't have to change it. I'm excited that we're going to be expanding our footprint into additional areas. So formally launching Love Alive Church New Orleans this year, and then Dallas in 2024, and then Atlanta in 2025. And then we'll see what God does after that. As it relates to Ronaldo Hardy, for me, I believe I'm open to what God desires to do next. I do believe that my impact that I will have will lead me into some opportunities that will be television related. My wife and I have some entrepreneur endeavors that we're working on and through. We're each going to be working on our own podcast as well. So that's something that's to come. And I've completed my first book. So I can't tell y'all when it's going to release, but it is done. Like, it is 100% written, and just trying to explore what God wants to do with that. Will it be self-published or will it be picked up by a publisher? We'll see. I am taking my steps so that I make the right steps with it, but I cannot wait to release it. It is
that is so
book.
amazing. I'm excited for you. Congratulations.
Yes. And I think this might be the first place that I shared that tidbit, that I actually have a book completed. Yeah, exclusive. Come on. You broke it. You broke the news.
Thursday. Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
So, listen,
you're welcome.
Like I said, I am a PK, born and raised AME, so for me to step out of that AME tradition and jump into the Love Alive love pool, let me tell you, it has been amazing.
Yes.
I am appreciative to you and Pastor Christian for you guys just being who you are and just loving people, no matter who they are, where they come from. I kind of had that similar experience of I'm just come to church and I'm just be a pew member because I done the choir, the usher, I did all that my whole life. So I just want to lay low. I'm just come in. But you guys have a way of inspiring people, pushing people, making them want to participate, making them want to be a part of the fam. And so thank you for being who you are. I thank God for you and your ministry. And I'm just excited. I mean, just as a member, I'm just like, Love Alive. Wherever you're going, Dallas, Austin, Alaska, wherever it is, there's planes, I'm going. So, yes.
Come on. It's going to be beautiful to watch you grow.
I appreciate you so much for joining me and being my first guest for episode 1 of season 5. Pastor Ro, you are amazing, and I will be in touch very soon.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to be here with you tonight.
Everybody, Touch Taste Thursday episode 2, February 16th. My guest will be Courtney Miller. She is an entrepreneur. She's a self-help coach. She's a fashionista. She's an influencer. So if you're in the Baton Rouge area, you're probably familiar with Courtney Miller. She's going to be my guest, and we're going to just have some girl talk, and we're going to talk about all the stuff I just mentioned. Being an influencer, being an entrepreneur, being a self-help coach, and what does that really mean? Because there are a lot of self-help coaches out here. And I also want to give a special thanks to our product sponsors for the night, the Poopery brand. I have a ton of it here. I may do a giveaway or something like that, so you just have to watch and make sure you are following the Jean Allen Collection page so that if I do decide to do a giveaway, you can be in on it. So that is it for tonight. Our motto here at Touch Taste Thursday is what's for me is for me, and what ain't is for another saint. You guys have a great night, and I will see you guys on episode 2, February the 16th. Bye.